All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. It's Sunday night, so yep, it's Walking Dead time. For better or for worse, it is Walking Dead time. So it's Season 9, Episode 10. It is called Omega. Okay, so full spoilers if you haven't seen this episode. Okay, so I gotta at least give it up to them that they decided to do a flashback episode and tell a brief origin of Alpha and Lydia's backstory. Nobody's ever really gotten that from this show. Outside of Rick, we have not seen anybody's perspective, as far as the past goes. Not really. And so them trying to show Samantha Morton's Alpha and Lydia's, how things went south for them, is a way for them to try to humanize and explain how they can get to wearing zombie skins is what I think it is. Because on paper, these people are they're not adjusted very well. And I don't think that a lot of people that watch the show would be able to grasp just the nature of the Whisperers to a degree to where you either just hate them or you love to hate them. I on the other hand, I just think the Whisperers are just another wrinkle. Like they're starting to run out of ideas here for things that you can try to do to make the show not the same thing every week, even though it kind of is. They've been upping the ante in the books as well with the Commonwealth now, like dealing with a really big city kind of situation. It feels like we're winding down. It feels like both the comic and the show are winding down because even though it seems like they want to keep this going for a long time with movies and stuff, I hope that that's what we're getting here is the winding down of the series as a whole. Just because I mean, even if I was on board after Rick left, it just feels like they're saying goodbye. And I feel like the Magnus group is supposed to be kind of the way Rick's group was in season 2 and 3. Always like on the run, always going someplace where there's difficulty that they've got to, overcome. And now Rick's own group is a shadow of what it once was as far as like the cast and everything. And so we're like the elders, our group is like the elder statesmen, and these are the new kids coming in to kind of take over the show. I really think that that's where this is headed. Because you see a lot of shows do desperate things when big actors leave their shows, like when Duchovny left The X-Files. How'd that go? Anybody remember? Because see, what I remember is there were pretty good episodes in the next couple of years, but the show just went downhill because they gave us things that we didn't want. We didn't, we can handle a little bit of change, but we can't handle that big of a change. And so the whole thing ended up just sticking around way too long and having an unsatisfying ending. And that's what I feel is going to happen here if they don't try to get out of this soon. Now, why am I talking about all this at 4 minutes into the episode? Well, that's because there's not much to say. Because Lydia is an untrustworthy narrator who has the entire episode to come up with the correct narrative of her past and what really happened to her father. We have to spend a lot of this episode with her and our best friend Henry, who of course is just giving up all the goods, and Daryl letting him. To what end? I mean, we know to what end. Like Daryl knew the kid would just be like a soft sell and get, but it would also mean that Daryl knows that he could never let this girl go. If he was willing to let Henry willingly give up all these secrets about their group. So And it's just, is Henry supposed to be the voice of the new generation of Walking Dead audience members? Because it just doesn't seem like, it seems like Henry's trying to be the smart sitcom kid to Daryl's, Tim the Toolman Taylor kind of situation where I do things the old way and this kid's doing things some new way. I don't know. There's not much to say and not much to like about this episode. Daryl's got a lot of dialogue. I think Samantha Morton as Alpha is an interesting choice. And the end of this episode kind of confuses me as far as timeline comic book wise. But like I've said before, fuck it. Like they're just going to do things the way they do things. I just see a problem with doing a certain scene coming up. I think there's going to have to be a change in how they come to a decision on how they're going to do a scene coming up because of how they do the scene at the end of this episode where Alpha shows herself. I do think that there is some cool stuff coming, but this just was not that great. And, the group leaving, sneaking out, like, kind of, like I said, reminded me of, like, stuff that Rick's group used to do. But then they get out there and then they just go, oh, it's too dangerous. We got to go back. Like, I don't know. Like, why the fuck? Just to establish that they really miss Luke, I don't know. And I like this group, though. I like Yumiko. I like Magna. I like all of them. But it just, the story really didn't do anything this week. And just more Henry and more Lydia and more reminders of how much the show has gone off the rails and more, like, differences from the comic to the show. Just all these things that nerds like me, comic book devotees like me that just can't let it go. Just knowing that this was supposed to be Carl's storyline, not Henry's, just really chaps my ass. Knowing what Carl could have done with these scenes just makes me really, really angry. Because I think that Chandler Riggs had gotten good enough at being Carl that he would have done a really good job with this relationship that's supposed to be going on with Lydia. And it makes it impossible for me to like what's going on in this episode, knowing that they had the story already mapped out and they fucked it up by letting Chandler Riggs go for whatever reasons they had. And so I'm biased. And so I can't give an honest review of this without that grudge hanging over my shoulder on when I see this. So I don't know if anybody else is feeling the same way after watching it. If you're a comic book reader and a show watcher, if you don't read the comics, you don't know how different it would be and how different it feels coming at it from this perspective. It'd be like, what's something else that people really, would freak out over? Like if on Game of Thrones, if all the people that read the book, if the Red Wedding happened and let's say nobody died, how would you guys feel? Like how would people feel if, like, would you even want to know that was a thing? Because that's what it feels like from my perspective, is when they take away these things that completely change the story, and when they don't make it better. Okay, it's one thing to change it and make it better, but if you do something different and you don't, if you make a change to make the audience not, get something that they didn't expect, it's got to be better than the thing that they would have gotten if they had followed correctly the story that they already have. And that's what's not happening here. That is not what's happening here. And I don't know if this is just them trying out new things, and new writers and new directors and new actors to the end of a show to see if they'd be maybe good in something else coming up. I don't know. But that's all I got to say about this. The end was good. It's interesting. There are aspects in here that I'm really liking. I like the look of the Whisperers quite a bit. And they are selling the fact that they're always there, and you just got to be really careful now. But other than that, like I said, can't really give this episode a very good score because it's just of those feelings that I have about it. So anyway, if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, we will see you next week for another begrudging Walking Dead Season 9 review. But if you want to see things that are more upbeat, we've got the Umbrella Academy, we've got my Road to Avengers Endgame MCU movie reviews, we've got The Passage, and we've got a bunch of other stuff on here that comes out just about every other day or so. So you can check out any of those videos or any of my playlists if you become a subscriber. So anyway, this is Rob for Smirking Gun Reviews saying have a great night, and we will see you next time.